Hey, this is Jarrett Lyons for the New Americans, LGBT New Americans Oral History Project at the Brooklyn Community Pride Center. I'm here with my co-interviewer,
Rebeca Centeno.
And
My
our
name is
interviewer.
Vasilis, and I am in the Brooklyn Community Pride Center on the 17th of June, 2018.
Just for interviewing purposes, how do you identify? Gay male, trans?
Gay male.
Okay. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Nigeria, but I also spent a lot of time in Ireland. I did elementary school there, and I also grew up in the US. Like when I moved there, I was still kind of younger, so I feel like a lot of my character comes from also the time I spent here in the US with like other Americans and stuff like that.
So how long were you in Nigeria originally?
I was actually only there for 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And then you went to Ireland?
No, I moved to Nigeria from Ireland.
Oh, so you were born in it.
Yeah.
And then you came to the US at what age?
17.
So, what was it like growing up in all those different spaces?
Normal. I would say it was pretty. I didn't realize it at the time. It's now in retrospect that I kind of think about it could have been different. But then it was just like me and my mom and my siblings, and so we were just wherever they told us to be. So when I was in Ireland, I was staying with my mom. But then in Nigeria, I stayed with my aunties and uncles, and I went to school there. So I did high school there, and it was just school, like grades, drama, like games, like during recess and stuff like that. So growing up wasn't like that different, I would say. Yeah.
And why did you move?
Why did I move? Nigeria's always moving, but. So I wasn't actually born in Ireland. I was born in Greece, and and so like my parents met there, and they gave birth to me and my siblings, and like okay, my dad moved to the US, and they decided like the best thing for us was to move to another English speaking country so that we could like learn to speak English and just to grow up in this very like Eurocentric world. And so we moved to Ireland, and I did elementary school there. And when I was like graduating, they were like, we need to get in touch with our Nigerian culture and heritage. And so we moved to Nigeria, and then moving to US was not kind of standard because I was going to enter college and my dad was there, and that was the end goal eventually, to always come to the US. And so yeah.
What were some of your favorite memories in any of those spaces, or if you have? One in each.
Always just memories with family. Yeah, I feel like one of my favorite memories is one Christmas party with my grandpa before like the year before he died, and it was just kind of all of us were just there, all my cousins, before we all moved out, and like now we're all adults, and so like one is in England and one is in France, and like everybody's everywhere else, and we can't really converge for big events anymore. But that was like a fun day just to be with them and talk and laugh and eat a lot, too much. But yeah, it was fun.
Where was that?
In Nigeria.
So how long ago did you come to the US for the last?
It'll be 5 years. Okay, 4 years because when I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were 17 when you came here. And why did you come? Just because that was the end goal for the family?
Yeah.
What was it like being here after all those other spaces and kind of this being the end goal? How did it feel when you came?
Underwhelming, to be honest. It's not like I love being in the US. I love having like this opportunity to be in a country like this where people do like make a difference, I guess, around the world. But I had so much more expectations because like the way it's portrayed in media, it's like glamorous and glossy and Mean Girls, and I was just like, it's not like that actually. But it was just interesting to have my family together. So for the longest time, we all lived apart. So like my dad lived somewhere else, my mom like, but it was not kind of nice to have us all together under the same roof. And then I was finally able to like go to college. So that was a nice like change. I was in school. I was able to study the stuff I wanted to study. I was able to be like gay and like not feel like I'm breaking laws, and that was interesting. But that took some time to get used to, even in the US. Yeah.
Why was your family separated for so long?
I don't know, it was not like intentional, it just happened. Like I feel like it's like when 1 year becomes 10 years and it's like, wait, where did all the time go to? We kind of like separated first just for like practical reasons, but like necessity and just time just like made it that we went together for the longest time. But it happened eventually.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like growing up queer in all these different spaces? You mentioned that you felt better being here.
Yeah.
But so what was different everywhere else?
So like being like, so I have kind of this relationship with queerness that is, when I was like everywhere else, I wasn't queer in the sense of like I didn't know I was. Like I always had this like kind of attraction to guys, kind of since elementary school, but it was never kind of like acknowledged. It was just like it's normal. Like I still feel it's normal, if I'm to be honest. But then it was like it's just normal. Like there's nothing really wrong with it, and so. And I was also so busy with other things, like actually school and like just trying to like advance myself in places I wanted to be at, that I ended up not even like pursuing any of the relationships that or the feelings I had. There was sex, I guess, but sex is always like, I went to boarding school and sex was kind of like just like an activity, not even like a emotional thing. And so, so growing up queer wasn't like a big deal till I actually got to the US, where I had more time to actually think about like, okay, what are my next steps into the world? Like, okay, now I'm in college, I want to graduate, I want to get a job. Like, will I be with, like, will I get married to a woman? Like, how will I deal with all these things? Because then it was never really expected of me. But then, as I said, obviously, as you get older, people expect things from you. And so that's when being queer, I became like, I might need to make a decision earlier than later than about what's going to happen. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when did you realize you were different, that you were attracted to boys? Did that affect your life in any other way besides just at school?
So like I remember in Ireland, I was in elementary school, and like someone had like kids just being kids, they bought a phone. Like, and it was that time when like Nokia phones were like amazing, and it had like some porn on it, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then I just ended up like realizing that I was like more attracted to like the guy in the scene, and I was like, okay. Anyway, so it was just like fast forward like maybe a couple months. I still didn't realize that I was gay, and so that's something that I feel like for me was like a saving grace and kind of like an anomaly. Like I didn't know there was a word attached to being gay. Maybe because I didn't speak English first, or I don't know. There was just like I didn't know what gay was, and so I was just like, oh, I just like the guy. Do you get what I'm saying? I prefer the guys over the girls. Like, and like I remember asking my mom what gay meant, because people would throw around the world in school, like it's always used as a word for like lame or like. So I was like, they'd be like, oh, you feel that you're gay, and I'd be like, I asked my mom like, what does gay even mean? And she was like, like I was like, girl, like what's happening? And so it was really interesting to kind of. So that was like my first even encounter with the word in general, but so it didn't really affect my life. But okay, when I went to high school. And I was so I had gone to Nigeria, and I was in Nigeria, and Nigeria has this kind of like law against like homosexuality. That's when it started to kind of like become more obvious that okay, gay people are different, gay people have like all these problems attached to them. But because I was foreign, and because they kind of saw me as someone that's an outsider, they never kind of like made me feel bad for being more femme or being more like acting more stereotypically gay. They would always be like, that's how Americans behave or something like that. And so that kind of like saved me a little bit. And so it never really became a problem. I was just like, if I wanted to pursue a relationship, I knew that would be a problem. If I like walked down the street with holding a guy's hand, that would be a problem. But it never really happened. And so, yeah.
How did that make you feel that you would have been persecuted had you done all those things?
Okay, so at first I didn't even bother about it because, like, when I was in high school, I was really kind of obsessed about like coming to school in America, regardless of what happened. So it was like if I came here with my dad or came here on a scholarship, I had to come here regardless. And so I was not really obsessed with grades, maybe a little bit too obsessed. And so I was always just like studying, always just like just focused on things that weren't really personal or emotional. It was not in 2014, the year I came, that kind of like changed a little. Like the 2014 in January, there was this law that was passed, the SSM, the Same-Sex Marriage Prevention Act, and that was when I kind of like really thought about it a lot more, because before then it was more of a status quo kind of thing. It wasn't really legalized. It was like, just don't be gay. Like, gay is not African, gay is not Christian or Muslim, or it's just like, just don't be gay. It's not the right thing to do. But when that law was passed, it became kind of like, don't be gay because you can get arrested and you could actually be put in jail for about 14 years. And that's when I was like, oh my God, like I might be in a little bit of trouble. So yeah, that's like, it made me feel sad. Like, yeah.
But you already knew you were aiming to come to the U.S.
Yes.
anyway.
And I would always say that like that, it's not, I don't have the same experience as someone that had like, that had the vision of themselves always being in Nigeria. I kind of always had this kind of idea that I would come to the US eventually.
Did you have any concerns or any fears about coming here?
I did have fears, but like it's like fears about when you're moving anywhere. So like, will I make friends? Will I be able to like survive the winter? Will I be able to eat their food? Kind of stuff like that. When it comes to being queer, like, I don't know, I feel like my fears, if it comes to being like gay and queer, was just related to how will my family even react. So now this is more like, it doesn't have to do with the US, as it has to do with like the actual Nigerians I know, and the like, so my family as in like my parents obviously and my siblings, and then my family as in my cousins and my aunts and uncles, and like then extended family like church members and community, like people that we know. And so that was kind of like a little bit of a fear, but yeah.
Are you out to any of them?
Yeah, I'm out to most people. So I'm like, I came out to my mom, which was disastrous, but like, so I'm not out to my dad in the sense of like, I didn't say I'm gay, but also I've never been, especially like in recent times, I've never been like the one to kind of like cut myself or to kind of like put myself in the box when I'm around people. So regardless of where I'm at, I'm the same. Just if I'm like, let's say in a professional event, I want to like cuss or something like that, but I'm just generally the same person. And so if you assume I'm gay, well, you're assuming right, but if you don't, like, it's okay. Do you get what I'm saying? And I won't like, if I don't see the point of like actually explicitly telling you anything about my life, then I won't tell you. And so that's how it is right now.
Can you tell me about what it was like when you came out to your mom?
Now it's funny, but then it was like a mess. But in college, so I went to school in Indiana, and like my family's in Indiana. Indiana is my American home. But so I was in school and I was working full time, or not necessarily full time, but like when you're in school, everything becomes full time, I guess. So I was working a lot of hours at a restaurant very close by, and so I like worked like all day. So it was a Sunday, and I worked all day, and then I was tired and exhausted. Like my mom calls me, she's like, "Oh my God, you didn't come to church," and I'm like, I don't even want to go to church regardless of my sexuality, but I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go to church because I'm working, I need the money, and then I also don't want to go to church. And like, she was like, why don't you want to go to church? You used to be in the choir, you used to do this, you used to do that. And I'm like, I just don't want to go. Maybe I'm atheist. And that was even horrible. So like, it was like, okay, like you can't be atheist, you can't be, I was like, but anyway, so I was like, okay, let me just like make it worse and just like reveal everything and just like have it all be in front of her so that she knows. And it's like, I'm gay. And that was like, it was kind of like a minute of like, hey, what happened? Like, what do you mean? And then like, I'm gay. And it was like a lot of cussing out, a lot of shouting, a lot of crying on my part, I guess. And then yeah, like we continued talking. We continued talking for like the next couple of days, but it was always kind of like, are you really serious? Like even till today, I feel like she's still asking me the same question, like, are you seriously gay? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, that's how it was.
And how is your relationship now with her, with regards to you being gay and out with her?
I would say it's more authentic. So like regardless of everything, like one thing I kind of tell like a lot of my friends that are like in the closet with their families, it's just that it doesn't solve a lot of problems coming out. Like it doesn't like it's not like it's like automatic, okay, I love you kind of thing, but it does kind of like makes it that you can actually be with them, like, talk to them with more realness, or if I could say that word, like it's like I can actually tell her like, okay, if I wanted to, I could tell her I'm going on a date with a guy. Do you know what I'm saying? I could tell her that I'm trying to be in a serious relationship with someone. I could actually talk to her about stuff that before I would never really talk about. Like when it was before, I would like only talk about like grades and job and money and like just like the official stuff like medical, like health insurance, and like if it was more personal stuff like, oh, are you going to, like, do you have a girlfriend? They'd be like, what's a girl? Like so, but now I can actually be more real. Like and like because she also knows like now she knows most parts of me. She kind of knows where my head is at a little bit more. And so like when I talk to her about my future plans, she always kind of mentions the fact that, hey, you might want to do this because, like I told her, I want to move back to Lagos eventually and move. Lagos is in Nigeria, and so I was like, I told her I want to move back to Nigeria and like maybe do some work there, like work in an NGO or something like that. And she was like, okay, that's great, that's amazing, but you do know like they put gay people in jail. Like she said that kind of like to make me stop being gay, but at least now like we can actually have real discussions about that. But she not said that if you want to go, you have to have your security check, like have all these precautions done, and so it's like more like we can actually plan things, and like I know that everything is being counted for. Do you get what I'm saying? And also now I know like that when we talk and like when she says I love you kind of thing, it's not a part of me or if an image. It's actually the real me. Do you get what I'm saying? The me that I've shown her. So it's not like she loves me because I do all this stuff that she told me to do. She loves me because I'm doing me. You get what I'm saying? And it's actually a different impact.
What in Nigerian culture do you think makes it so difficult to be gay? What do you think are the reasons that it's like legislative law that is homophobic?
Yeah, I would say it's the same way it's the same reason why there are many like very very homophobic people in the US. People just don't like difference, or like it's very odd because people see themselves as unique, but then they also see that people can be different. You get what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I'm unique, but then like they can't really accept that difference in other people. There's so much involved in like Nigeria, for example. Let's say if we take Nigeria as a sample, like there's like the British that kind of brought colonies, like brought themselves onto Nigeria and created colonies. There is religion, Christianity, Islam. There is actual culture, which cannot be divided from religion anymore because it's just merged in. But like all this stuff kind of just like pulled in together to kind of create this environment that I actually see in the US as well. I see it in like many like Mormon homes, or in, let's say, some Black African American homes. Like very ethnic groups like tend to just have that just like family ties. You know what I'm saying? Or okay, having the man be the being patrilineal, so it's like the man has first name or the last name, sorry, and like property and like titles kind of go down through the man's family, and all this stuff kind of just like mixed in, so it's like it's such a taboo. But like when it comes to actual law, the law being made, that was kind of just a political stunt. So that was just like the president just wanted to have one win under his like docket before he leaves, or because there was an election coming up like the next year in 2015. So the law was passed in 2014. Next year there was an election, and he just wanted to have one thing that was like solid because he knew he could win with gay folks. So unlike when it comes to many other things, like okay, you can't build roads or you can build like major skyscrapers, but if it comes to like legislating against gay folk, it's very easy to just like have people rally against you, even people that don't really understand the issue. They're just like, oh yeah, gay people are bad, yeah, sinners. Let's do anything to make them stop or to make them suffer. And so that's basically why it was legalized. But it could have even gone like 50 years without being ever pushed into the like legal sphere because people had fear to be gay regardless. You know what I'm saying? It was always there. It was always there. People could not walk down, like people could not do pride in Lagos, and so yeah.
Do you remember where you were when you found out that that law was passed? Do you remember any specifics?
I was in Nigeria at that time. I was. I remember learning about it on Twitter. So it's like, yo, Twitter. But it was really interesting just kind of seeing people kind of. I feel like the law itself is not what kind of jarred me. It was just the way people reacted to it. And so it's like, I think the laws like are passed every day and how many of them actually affect people. But it's actually the people that kind of like, people around me and especially people around me that kind of said, oh my God, which I didn't, obviously I expected it. I expected that. So it's not like I'm trying to be too righteous and saying, oh my God, they should have said no. But it's just, even though I expected it, it's still kind of just like, had something, I just had like this kind of innate kind of like disappointment, like, so these are all the people that I just have to kind of like low-key avoid till I leave. But yeah, it was just way people were talking about like, oh my God, this is amazing. Obviously we had this select few that were saying, oh my God, this is stupid, and I liked the fact that there was also this kind of like contention, which kind of shows that it's not a Nigerian thing. So it like kind of shows that it's not like overarching, that this is just like has to do with actual like certain group of people that are homophobic. Do you get what I'm saying? You find them everywhere. And yeah, so I was really happy that there was a dissenting voice among like people that are like regular people, but also like celebrities and even politicians. Some politicians I know, like I can't think of any names right now, but there's some people that are like, this is not like the way to go about it. So yeah, that was really interesting.
So that was shortly before you came here.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got here, you were returning. You had been here before. Did that law and the laws here, did that affect kind of the way you felt about coming here, or was it not really thought about?
So I wasn't actually returning. I've never been to the US before. My dad's been here for a long time, but I myself like at that time I wasn't ever here in the US. But because I knew it wasn't legal here, I feel like that's all I needed. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like that was a step up. It was not like at that time gay marriage wasn't even legal, so it was legal the next year or towards the end of the next year. Mm-hmm. And so that wasn't even on my mind. I was like, first I just need to have a boyfriend. Like, we'll talk about getting married. So I really didn't think about laws here. I know that when I came here, I was just like, I hit the ground like running when it comes to like actually going to school. School was just like my biggest priority for like the first 2 or 3 years. Just like, okay, let me just graduate and leave here, like kind of like do my thing and like be who I am. And so yeah, I just kind of like went to school and like yeah.
So do you remember when you first got here, did you go to any gay events, any gay organizations for the first time?
No. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Okay, I actually do know why. So I was a bit uncomfortable. So, and guys, obviously it's a learning process. I feel like when you grow up in a community, in a like society or community that's very homophobic, not even intentionally, just homophobic, just like they say stuff like blue is for boys, pink is for girls, stuff like that, like very just heteronormative, and it's not like they're doing it maliciously. This is how they themselves were raised. And so when you grow up like that, it's like it's so hard to like not internalize it and just not be like, to not look at things the way they see it. And so like sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, I just want to like, also I didn't want to out myself as well. So like I didn't want to be out either. You know what I'm saying? I was like living with my parents, and like I was like, okay, if I do anything that's too gay, I might just be on the streets. Do you know what I'm saying? Like those are stuff that I needed to actually put into like now I can be out because I live on my own, I work, and they basically know. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's a different story. But then I was like, I just want to actually just do my thing, like study, like get this degree, like then figure it out from there. So I didn't like the first few years, like maybe first 2 years, I didn't really do anything gay or go to gay events. I did have like random like meet up with guys, but that was like very very like DL or down low or whatever. And so it was not towards the end of my college career that I actually like going to more gay events. I remember going to like the Lavender graduation for my college, and like I went there, and that kind of showed me that I needed to change something because I went there, but it was like I couldn't take pictures because I was like, oh my god, what if someone sees me at this like event? And so I was like, you know what? Today, like this is the last time I will actually go to an event like this and not be able to like be proud about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Where did you go to school?
Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. What did you study?
International relations.
So when things started to show the next point after you went to the Lavender graduation and you said this was going to be the last time, what was the next thing you did like that was an LGBT focused event?
I went to Toronto for the summer and I went to Pride there. So that was my first Pride ever, which was amazing. Go to Toronto. It was just like a great experience. Like I gone there for study abroad / like an internship. So it was just kind of like bundled. So I was with students like me, all American or American like, if that's the thing. But like we're all from the US basically, all just there for the summer. So I was in Canada, I was alone, like no one knew me. I could like actually have a new name and no one would care. And like just did me. So I like went to gay clubs like for the first time. And also you could drink at 19. So it's amazing. And I was 20. So I was like, okay, let me just leave it. Like let me just do it. So we went out to like gay events, like parties, what else? Like we went to Pride, which was like a week-long event or festival. Like there was many stuff going on. So I couldn't do any of the stuff during the week because of work. But during the weekend, so from Friday night to like Sunday evening, we were out like just going like there's this street called Church Street, and like downtown Toronto, and it was just like basically all the shops just opened up their doors and it was like street parties and soca and reggaeton and just music and expensive food. Don't buy food, but like just people having fun and being gay. And yeah, it was so that was like I was like yeah, it was kind of like a good way to kind of like release that stress from the Lavender graduation, to just be able to like be around all these people and just be happy. And what kind of like surprised me was like at these events you see a lot of straight people too. Like I was like, well, I love you too, but like it was really odd because I from my like from college, like I did go to the events that were queer or LGBT, and it was always like predominantly like LGBT. And so coming to like a space where like in the gay club you see a lot of straight couples, I'm like, I don't even know who's gay or not. Like okay, like, I just dance on my own and then someone come meet me. But like, but it was just really kind of like, it also kind of showed me that it's possible. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to be, oh, I'm straight, so I can't be with gay people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's no correlation there. So.
And then you just continued to have more fun at gay events, or did you kind of slide back into not going or not being open about those things?
No, I never slid back into not being open about those things. It's just like, also, we don't live in a vacuum where it's like so many stuff are going on. So work and school, like, okay, I was in school, but I was in school. Like I started a graduate program. Like so many stuff just happened. Like, and also I was in Toronto for the summer, and I moved back to Indiana before I moved here. And Indianapolis is not like a bad city to be at, but it's just like I was into such a small community that's hard to be. I was out to myself and even out to my mom then, but it was like it's just hard to be me when I'm just like there's just so much like it's just like a domino. Like if I just hit one wrong thing, everything just falls apart. I was like, okay, let me just like not stress myself out. It's not because of like I was ashamed or anything. It's just like I just knew like priorities. Like, you know, like my energy has to be focused somewhere. But here in New York, I've been out and about. You get what I'm saying? So it's like it's just about where I'm at, who I'm interacting with, and yeah, it's never like I feel like the kind of shame that I originally had. I had to work on it internally. So like I've been working on it for a long time. Just kind of like reaffirming that it's not strange to be gay or it's not sinful or maybe it is sinful but doesn't no one really cares. Stuff like that. Like just kind of working on those stuff myself. But yeah.
How old were you when you came to New York?
I came to New York last year, so just when I turned 21, yeah, in December.
And what's your life like here?
Just work. I feel like New York just forces you to like get off your feet and just be like, you have to put food on the table. Don't move to New York if you don't have money. But yeah, it's just been like, but it's been interesting. It's been a fun, just like actually working towards the goals that I set for myself. So no one has like, obviously people have like little inputs like, oh, do this, go here, go there. But it's just me kind of making plans for myself. Like I want to write, so I'm writing a lot. I want to be involved with like LGBT rights and African people, and African people. And I'm doing that as well. Just kind of like doing the things that I want to do. I'm meeting a lot of people. I'm working a lot, which is like, which has its own drawbacks. But like it's like, I'm not a fan of like, I like hard work. I like working. I like knowing that I'm pushing something forward, even if it's just like at 1 mile per second. So like even if it's very very slow, but it's like at least I'm doing something, and like tomorrow I'll see the results. So yeah, New York has not been easy, but I would say it's better than like what I had previously. Yeah.
And what do you do for work now?
I work at the Africa Center in Manhattan. Just work with the CEO. Yeah.
Is it fulfilling? How do you like that work? What is kind
of? Oh, I do like it. Actually, I started recently. After months of just doing random like temp jobs. But that was funny enough. That's one of the stuff that I was looking for, but I didn't know when I moved to New York. I knew that I was like. When I came here, I was very idealistic, but I feel like that was a good thing, just because I needed something to push me to actually make the move. And so I was like, okay, I know there's something here that I need, and this job is like being able to work with African people here in the city and being able to know that like this is like one of the most global cities in the world. Like this is as close as I can get to being in Africa without actually being in the continent. And eventually it kind of prepped me to actually eventually go back and actually do work on the continent and actually impact people there. Do you know what I'm saying? I just want to like have the experience and the actual like, so like, you know, when you know how to do something, but there's no one that said you can do it. There's no kind of like experience in quote unquote like in the real world, but you know you can do it. That's how it is for me. Like there's so much stuff I know I can do, but I just need to actually do it for someone and like get paid for it to be seen as validated. And this is like my validating experience. So kind of like working with these people and working for the center, it helps me kind of like just finally put to use the skills I already had. Yeah.
Where do you live now? You live in Brooklyn, or?
Yes, in Brooklyn.
So I know you work a lot, but do you have any favorite spots you like to kick back and hang out?
I don't have any favorite spots yet. Don't worry, come back in a couple months. Now that I'm more settled in, I'll have like 10. But I have gone to I've gone to this kind of bar called Father Knows Best in Bushwick. I don't know. It's not queer. I was just a normal ass bar. But I went to Boxers a couple weeks ago, which was interesting. There was like a RuPaul showing, so that was like really funny, really crowded. I was like, oh, y'all are too much, but it was really fun to just see all these people to get there. I do go to the gay center in Manhattan a lot, so it's just on the L train. So I just like just go, and I live just on the L train, so I just like go down to 14th Street and 8th Avenue and just like hang out there. I did a poetry reading there as well, because I write fiction and poetry, and so I just so that's basically it.
Do you like Brooklyn? Do you have anything specific that you like about it, or Brooklyn? Is it just?
I do like Brooklyn. I was talking to one of my friends because the place I work at now is in Harlem, and so it's about an hour to get there. I'm just like, oh my god, I might need to move to Harlem. And I'm just like, I don't want to move into the city, not yet. I like Brooklyn. It's like it's quieter, it's more homely. Like it's more for me. It's odd because like I've always kind of lived in Nigeria. I didn't live in the suburbs, but since I came to the US, I've always lived like in the outskirts of the city. Like just maybe it takes 30 minutes to get actually downtown. And so Brooklyn, even though it is a city, but it's not like you still have a lot of brownstones. It's just like very, very. I don't know. You see families that have like their cars impacted for their houses, and it's just I don't know. I just like being able to like go into the city during the day and come into Brooklyn at night and just like walk, and everything's just like darker, and like I'm just dancing and singing on the way to my apartment. Yeah, I just like also like being like the fact saying I'm from Brooklyn, which is like funny. Like it's like a pride symbol now. It's like, hey, I'm from Brooklyn. Yeah, I live in Bushwick, and it's like, oh, okay, you're one of those fancy ones. Even though Bushwick is not fancy, but yeah.
You said you've been here for a year and you've been working a lot. Do you have a good circle of friends yet, or are you still working on that?
So right now I don't really have a circle of friends that's outside my apartment. So like I have my roommates, which are okay. It's like it's disputed. Roommates are roommates, but we like hang out, we watch movies together, play games, go drinking sometimes. But I don't have like I have some friends, yeah, like, and it's just like really, really random. Just like met one, I don't know, at a networking event. Met another one at a workshop. It's just like, well, because we're also busy too. It's just like we don't get to hang out all the time. Hopefully in the next couple of months, I get to like get a stronger group of people. Do you know what I'm saying? More queer too. I'm just like it's hard to find gay friends, but we'll see. If you're out there, like hit me up. But yeah, it's just yeah.
So you said you went to boxers and Drag Race was playing. Do you watch Drag Race regularly, or was it just that night?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it was just that night. I don't know. Like, it's not like RuPaul. I love RuPaul. Like, I see RuPaul as like a role model and everything. But like, I just never been able to really get into it. They said I would like it. My friend said I would like it, so I would like.
It takes a while to get into it.
Yeah.
But then if you do, it's.
Exactly. He said the same things. Like at first was just like, what's this? And I was like, oh my god, this is happening. I was like, okay. So it's really interesting to figure out like if you know a drag queen from Drag Race, then you must be gay. So it's like it's that kind of like this kind of symbol of like, okay, maybe this is a way to get boys, but I don't know. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were thinking about possibly going back to Nigeria at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So is there something you miss specifically about that culture or anything?
There's nothing that you can't really get here in the US. So like at the end of the day, I realized that home is like what you make of it, is where you make it. I feel like that's something that kind of came from just traveling a lot from when I was young. So it's never been like how some people actually have physical attachment to a place and it's like, oh my god, my home is this. And I'm like, really isn't. You know, it's all constructed. It's all socially just like how you produce it in your mind. And so, like New York now is home, even though I've just been here a couple months. And so there's nothing I really miss per se, but it's just I want to be able to know that I'm doing work for African people. And so it's harder to do it when you're across the sea. Like I feel like if I move back to Nigeria, I'll be coming back and forth either way. Like my family still stays here. I still need my time to be able to kind of breathe American air and just come back. Do you know what I'm saying? But I want to be able to actually do actual work on the continent. Like, it's like, I'm a big believer in just do it. Do you get what I'm saying? Like Nike, like, yeah, just do it. But I'm just like, I hate kind of always talking about, even though I write a lot, and writing is part of like just talking and fiction, making fiction. But when it comes to actual life, I'm just a bit like, okay, if I want to make a change, I might as well just do it in the place I want to make that change. And I don't want to like see a future where another queer boy like me would not feel so much pressure to conform, to just do what he doesn't want to do. And so that's like my biggest motivator to yeah.
And you mentioned when you told your mom that you wanted to possibly go back to Nigeria, that she was a little worried. You guys were talking about safety.
Yeah.
How does that feel that you have to like think about that now before going back?
It sucks. I was even talking to like my boss because like my boss is Nigerian too, he was like, you have to do so much, just like take a simple trip. So like I was thinking about going to Nigeria for a wedding, and I had to think about like, oh my god, will my cousins out me, or will I have to like it's stressful. It really is. But I just kind of, the way I see it is kind of like like the first few will always be the most difficult. So people say the first kids are the hardest. The first, I don't know, the first thing is always kind of the hardest. And so like, if there's this first few people, like this group of people that are gay and proud and African, and they have to just kind of like break their backs to kind of push the nail forward. It's going to be difficult, but then after maybe us, the next group will not have to do so much. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, yeah, it's just take it the way it is, and yeah, make the necessary precautions, but realize that it will change eventually. But change comes slowly for most people.
So your ultimate goal is to kind of travel back and forth?
My ultimate goal is not, like, I have many ultimate goals. I feel like I don't know, eventually I want to be the embarrassing dad that goes to college and takes selfies and be like, oh my god, like he's leaving me. That's my ultimate goal, I feel like. But to like get to that point where I'm like the college dad that's crying at the steps, I just want to do things that, like, I want to write. So I write a lot. I want to get published. I want to work with Africans, work with Nigerians, get laws passed, like get laws revoked. Do you know what I'm saying? Make it easier for queer people to be queer, at least legally. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe not, because cultural change is like painstakingly slow, but legal change is quicker. Do you know what I'm saying? We talk about gay marriage here in the US, and that it wasn't a quick turnover, but like as soon as the law was like, okay, as soon as the Supreme Court like passed that, like said that, like it was legal throughout the states. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even like a day or two, it was just that moment. And so sometimes we need to go with the legal route first, and then kind of like also do the culture stuff simultaneously, but realize that it won't be a day or in a week, it'll be a year or a decade, and that's okay. And so that's why I also write. I also write to create narratives, and like not even create narratives, just portray it the way it is. Like I find myself whenever I'm writing a lot, like I'm not even like making things up. I'm just actually writing about gay people I know, about myself, about like my friends. You know what I'm saying? Actually, just showing that there's a different way to navigate the world and the way you tell it and the way you know it. So it's like just basically showing, because there's like, well, yeah, there's like a fantasy and sci-fi, which is basically made up. Like this is just like real people. You know, and you kind of, for me, it's like a big exercise in realizing that the world is not. Everybody's not copy and pasted. You get what I'm saying? We're all kind of like, we're all unique, but then there's also similarities, which is odd. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like there are overarching similarities, but we're all kind of different. But yeah.
So you were talking about how social change takes a long time, legislative change is a little bit quicker. So being in the U.S. at the time of what the U.S. is going through right now politically, what do you think about that? Do you think that it's inherently different than the social issues in Nigeria regarding LGBT rights or immigration rights? Just what are your thoughts on that?
The US is a mind trip, yo. It is. It's like, it's funny because we have like two different, like not even two, like just, again, it's such a big country, so it's unreasonable to really think that people think the same way. But it just seems like the US is battling with kind of like, it's trying to move forward and move into this new dawn or this new era, but it's kind of battling to kind of like decide where it wants to stand. You get what I'm saying? Does it want to be the country that stands on religious grounds and be like, I don't know, the Israel of North America, or does it want to be the liberal like hegemon that kind of like leads the world and like liberation? And he has done both. So funny enough, he has done both parts. It's like Stonewall started here, you know what I'm saying? The first Pride was in the US, all the civil rights movements in the US. It has done like, it's a, I don't know. But those movements also come from the fact that it's holding on to the past as well, do you know what I'm saying? There will be no need for a Stonewall riot if there was no homophobia. There was no, people were not being attacked, were not being raided. You know what I'm saying? In countries where, like, in South Africa, after apartheid, like, they just made it that there was no discrimination based on, like, gender, sexuality, stuff like that. So there was no need to actually even be there protesting homophobia. It's still there. It's still ingrained in that, like, South African culture, but it's not, like, legally allowed. You know what I'm saying? So, but the US, it was like each step needed to be fought for, and so as I look at this kind of time where we have, like, the way the politics is working and, like, people that are in office, and, like, I just another kind of, like, stepping stone to the next part. I actually do see, like, even I'm always being an optimist, always being the person to see more, and I think that, like, when you're in a situation, you tend to panic more. So, like, I'm always that type of person to, like, if I see myself panicking too much, I just sit down and just, like, realize that the time will pass. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what happens, time will pass. And so I see this kind of time as just, like, a time to, for me, it kind of reinvigorated me. Do you know what I'm saying? And there are many other people around me that I see kind of, like, inspired to do more work because of, like, where the situation. And so it's kind of a big thing that it's like sometimes you need situations like this to kind of push you to do the next thing, to actually be bold and to be brave. And yeah.
So what do you want people to know about LGBTQ immigrants? Do you think there's stigmas that they don't realize? Do you think that they misview LGBT immigrants, or what's your take on that?
LGBT immigrants, such a broad term. But I would say, like, I don't know, like, there's so much, because many of them, I would say, okay, just regard them as human beings. You know what I'm saying? Just remember that regardless of their immigration status or their sexual orientation, remember first of all that they are human beings. You know what I'm saying? With a bit, like, emotions, and they pee every once in a while, and they cry, and they sleep, and they need to sleep. If they don't sleep, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that are affecting you are also affecting them, and, like, the way you treat them adds to the experience of the US. You know what I'm saying? The experience of immigration. Do remember that, like, for you might think you're doing, like, the right thing by, like, being abrasive or aggressive towards them, but at the end of the day, it's like once that situation passes and you move to the future, you become that memory of, like, the hate that they were even escaping. You know what I'm saying? Many people don't want to leave their homes. I would say that, like, many people don't want to leave. Leaving is not easy, and I was talking about home as a social construct in the past, like, just a couple minutes ago, and it was like it is something that is constructed. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like home is like, okay, where my family is at, where my house is at. Maybe home is Knickerbocker Street or something like that. It's something you made up, but for a lot of people, that it's so real. You know what I'm saying? Like, they grew up maybe in, I don't know, Lagos, and they knew that all their life. They didn't know anything else, and so make that decision to leave because of their sexual orientation is such a big one. Many people would rather actually choose to just, like, play the game and just move along, and so realize that if someone comes to you and they say they're queer and they're LGBT and, like, they are the immigrant, like, it was not an easy decision. It was not something that they just made offhandedly. Oh, I want to jump over fences and just land on your footstep, on your doorstep. It's not that casual. You know what I'm saying? And when I feel like a lot of discussion around immigrants is just one that kind of removes the humanity from it and just states numbers and facts, and it's like, well, 50% of immigrants tend to sleep with one eye open. Okay, yeah, but you're still kind of forgetting that, like, these 50% of immigrants still all moved here and they still had all these emotional things that they needed to deal with just to survive. You know what I'm saying? And it's really just a mind trip when you move to a country and realize that you don't even want it. Oddly enough, for me, it didn't happen. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I was too naive to, like, I don't know. I still don't feel like I'm not one separate state. But it's like, whenever I do get that vibe, it's just like a kind of this odd thing that in both places but here and like in Nigeria, I might not be wanted. Like it's like maybe I should just go to Atlantis into Atlantic Ocean, just like maybe do something there. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's like it seems like both places is not convenient. But I don't know.
So is there anything else you'd like to add, or if you want anybody to know anything about you specifically as a queer immigrant claiming that identity?
One thing I want to say, okay, I have so many stuff to say, but I would say like one thing that I had to like deal with when I came to New York was like how I identify, how I describe myself to people. So like it took me a while to get out of this kind of thing that I'm gay. Like so I am gay, right? Yeah. But I am like I realized that that's like I'm starting to realize more and more and more like every day that it's just a part of me. And so it's like I want you to like look at this video and be like, okay, he's doing this because like it's LGBT Pride Month, he's doing this because he's queer and he's an immigrant, but that's not all he is. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm so much more. Like I'm a writer. I feel like okay, right now I'm just like identify as an artist even more. Just because it's just like I'm just like always doing artistic stuff. So I'm a writer, do you know what I'm saying? I'm someone's son, I'm someone's brother, someone's future husband. I don't know, stuff like that. And that's me, do you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's very easy for people to forget when they kind of like addressing people that like when let's say you look at a label and you see someone as he's Muslim and you forget that that person might be a whole different host of things to different people. And you just forget that and you just like look at, oh, he's Muslim, so he must be evil, he must be a terrorist, or he's queer, he must be sinful, or must be sex, I don't know, addicted. You know what I'm saying? You forget that these are actual people. You know what I'm saying? They came through this process, like they were birthed into the world and they will leave as well. Do you know what I'm saying? In the same way you would, in the same manner. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, just remember that. Just as complex as you are, whoever is watching this, like that's how complex I am. I feel like I'm even more complex, but it's anyway. Everybody feels that about themselves. So yeah, that's basically it.
Do you have any other questions that you want them to do a reading?
Do you want to do a quick reading?
Um,
One of your pieces?
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I have it on my phone? Okay. So this is a poem that I wrote to my dad. So it's like hella emotional. Hopefully I don't like start bawling. Okay, I won't start bawling because I can control myself now. But so I said earlier on that I have not come out to my dad officially. So I kind of like I was improvising, kind of thinking about the time I'll come out to my dad, which will happen, I don't know, whenever it happens. And this is kind of like a poem called Something to Tell. So, Daddy, I want to tell you something. I want to sit you down and tell you something. I want to cup your ear and tell you something. I want to clear my throat, avert my eyes and tell you something. I want to tell you a day will come when I'll find a man like you. A day will come when I'll stand in front of a boy and say I do. A day will come when I'll start a family like you started ours. Daddy, are you listening? I want to tell you that I will love relentlessly the way you taught me. I want to tell you I will raise my kids the way you raised me. We will do church on the weekend, church on Sunday, Lagos in the summer, Lionel Richie in the evenings. Daddy, are you there? Do you hear me? I want you to know I always wanted to tell you. A day didn't go by. A day never went by. A day doesn't go by when I don't think about telling you, when I don't imagine the conversation, when I don't consider the possible outcomes, the one where you kill me, the one where you hug me, the one where you disown me, the one where you freeze. Will you freeze? Will you pause? Will you think? Will you remember? Will you remember you loved me? Will you remember the first time you held me? Will you remember when you named me? Will you remember when you took me to your own father? Will you remember when you promised to be the best dad in the world? Promised to protect me, promised to always be there for me. Will you? Will you? Daddy, will you? Will you? Daddy, I have something to tell you. This is me. I love you, but I love me too. I want to be close to you. but I want peace of mind. I want calm in my soul, and I know you understand. Love, Nonso. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.